Welcome back to an all new edition of the His and Her Money Show with America's #1 money couple. I'm Talent.
And I'm Ty, and we're from hisandhermoney.com, where we're managing money, marriage, and everything in between.
We're glad that you guys are back here with us for another edition of the show because we have another fantastic debt free story to share with you. We're going to be talking with a young lady named Kelsey who paid off $40,000 in just 19 months.
Kelsey has an amazing story that you definitely want to check out. So let's take a look.
Hey, Kelsey, welcome to the His and Her Money Show.
Hi, how are you?
We're doing great, and we are happy that you're here with us to share your awesome story of debt elimination because we know that our audience is going to love it. They're going to be inspired by it, and they're going to be encouraged to either start their journey or continue in their journey to debt freedom. But before we get into your story and the details surrounding it, can you take a moment and introduce yourself to our audience and let them know what you're all about?
Absolutely. My name is Kelsey Crommiller. I'm a 27-year-old web and graphic designer from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. I work full-time for a major company in Boston, and I also do freelance design in my spare time.
Awesome, awesome. Now, Kelsey, you at one point were deep in debt and you successfully paid it off. So let's talk about what type of debt it was and how did you get in debt in the first place?
So I graduated college in 2012 with a bachelor's degree in graphic design, which is my field, and about $50,000 of debt in my name. So it was all student loan debt. Being the first to go to college in my family, my parents, neither of them went to college and didn't really know and understand the schooling process, and they weren't really sure how we were going to even pay for this. We didn't make a lot of money to get financial aid, but we also didn't get a lot of money to pay full out for college. I applied to thousands and thousands of scholarships and didn't receive anything. The ones that I did receive, I couldn't use for the school that I was attending. So it ended up being all student loan debt. And unfortunately, I just kind of sat back and focused on my schooling and let my parents handle the finances. And they just took out massive amount of loans because they were panicking. So that's how that happened.
Awesome, awesome. So now $50,000 worth of student loans when you graduated. How long did it take you from start to finish to rid yourself of these student loans?
So it took me exactly 19 months. I started the whole journey in 2014, August of 2014. It was kind of when I got really mad about my debt and realized that I needed to do something about it. So from August 2014 to March of this year, it was done. So 19
Awesome.
months.
Awesome. I mean, that is super incredible. Now, you just said that there was something, a trigger, something that set you off in August of 2014 that kind of made you focus in and get really serious about getting rid of your student loans. I mean, why did that happen? Because for most people your age, when they graduate with student loans, that's just common practice. And everybody's just used to having that student loan payment. It's just how it is. But for you, something clicked. Something said, no, this is not how I want my life to be. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how it was. I didn't want my life to be that way. I had ambitions to own a house. That's my life goal. It's been my life goal all of my life since I was probably 5 years old. I dream about owning a house more than I dream about my own wedding day. So, I wanted the house. I wanted to be married. I wanted to afford a wedding. I wanted to be able to have a family and raise a family with the person that I love. And I knew that those were completely unrealistic goals with $50,000 of student loan debt in my name. Trying to buy a house in Massachusetts, it's impossible. And at the time, I was making only $30,000 a year, my first job out of college. And that's when I picked up the book, The Complete Guide to Money by Dave Ramsey. And that's what triggered it. I read it within 48 hours and I was hooked. I got mad. I got real mad. Like Dave says, it's gazelle intense. I got gazelle intense about my student loan debt, and that's how it all started.
Now, talk to me and everybody that's tuned into the show about your mindset. Going into this, I'm sure that you had to start thinking differently, had to start viewing your money and your relationship with money differently. So was that a difficult process? And how did you make that adjustment from being a consumer of the student loans to now you're in full-fledged, like you said, gazelle intense mode to attack and destroy the debt?
Yeah, so I started working 3 jobs in addition to my full-time job. I had my regular 9 to 5 graphic design job, and I started doing overnight pet sitting. So from the time I got home till the time I got up, I did 7 to 7. So it was 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. That was overnight pet sitting. I did freelance on the side. So during any of my spare time, which maybe while I was pet sitting, during my lunch breaks at my full-time job, on my weekends, I would do freelance graphic design. And then I also ran an Etsy shop that was really successful during the holidays for like video game related Christmas ornaments. And that really took off. And I had hundreds and hundreds of orders for that to get out. So I worked a lot. I had no hours of the day to myself.
I mean, but that's what it takes. That's what it takes. That's what we preach here. We call it hustle
Absolutely.
season. You're going to have to hustle hard for a season in your life if you truly desire to unbury yourself from the massive amounts of debt that so many of us are in. I'm curious, though, Kelsey, as you were making these adjustments, both in your thinking and in your actions, and you're trying to get out of debt, what was the reaction you were getting from friends and family? Was everybody super supportive? Did you have some hecklers or a mixture?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I had a lot of people that were supportive. It was kind of funny. My parents' reaction was most surprising to me. They kind of really didn't believe me when I told them that I was paying off each loan as it came. So I did the debt snowball. So you start with the littlest loan, and then you tackle it, and then you apply that minimum payment to the next smallest loan, and you keep going from there, and it's a snowball effect. So the debt ends up, you pay it off that way. So I started with that, and I paid off the very first student loan, which was only like $3,500. And, I told my parents, I was like, Mom, Dad, guess what? Like, I paid off a student loan, and they were kind of just like, oh, that's great, honey. Like, good for you. And it kind of felt like they didn't believe me. And then as time went on, I had to actually show them the numbers. So then the next debt was, the next thing was like a $9,000 loan. And I told them, hey, I just paid this off. And I still don't think they believed me until the very end. So I kind of thought that was funny for my own parents. They were still very supportive, but it was just kind of like, I just don't, like I said, I don't think they believe me. My friends and family probably thought I was insane. It's all I post about. It's all I talk about. It was what I continued to talk about on social media. I blogged about it because it helped me stay motivated to do that. So every time I talked about it, people would be like, oh, it's the only thing you talk about these days. It's just to get that mindset, you gotta keep on the grind.
Yeah.
So.
Now, you were on the grind, truly. I mean, 19 months and you destroyed all this debt, which is absolutely amazing. Were there some obstacles that popped their head up along the way? And if so, how did you overcome those obstacles and keep moving forward?
So I kept there were a few here and there, just some snags. I had a little bit of a medical issue at one point, but in Dave Ramsey's books, he mentions to keep a small emergency fund of about $1,000. So I had that set aside to not use towards my student loans, which was hard, by the way. It was hard to see that $1,000 sitting there, and I actually grew it a little bit over time. It kind of went up to about $5,000 over the 19 months that I was doing this, and I kept it there as like a safe bet, just in case anything were to happen. So if I needed a car repair or, like I said, that medical issue that came up, I was able to pay that in cash, and it wouldn't destroy my progress or push me back any further or have me wait any longer to continue paying off my loans.
Awesome. And I know for a lot of people that strive and have attempted to get out of debt, a lot of times they start their journey with a high level of motivation, but at some point something takes them off course and they lose that motivation. So for you, how were you able to maintain your motivation throughout the course of this process and help you propel forward to the finish line of becoming debt free?
For sure. That motivation was real tough for me. I could see my friends and colleagues and, people that graduated with who also had student loan debt that I know had student loan debt would be buying houses and getting married and starting to have babies, all the things that I wanted. And I'm sitting here thinking, how are these people doing this? They must have so much debt. They must not I don't understand. Why can't I do this? And so many, many times I wanted to give up and just be like, I'm done. I'm just going to go and buy a house. I don't care how much debt I have. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to get in more debt kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But I think what really motivated me was talking about it and blogging about it. Like I said, it consumed me. It was all I talked about all the time. So I started a little blog just on my business website, my graphic design freelance website, and I just kind of started blogging about each thing that I learned, personal finance wise. I went on a subreddit called it's actually called Reddit Personal Finance. I don't know if you've ever heard of Reddit before, but it's a great website that has a bunch of different topics. It's kind of like a forum, so it has a bunch of topics for a bunch of different things, and personal finance is one of them. So I was able to go on there and kind of talk about my journey and ask questions, and then everything that I learned, I would go and repeat it on my blog and just kind of teach my friends and family about the stuff that I had learned. And I would get messages all the time from people and emails and people telling me, like, your story is so inspiring. Like, I can't believe you've been paying off like all this debt so fast and that sort of thing. So that really kept me going. It was like super helpful to have that. So I'd get questions that I'd love to answer and that sort of thing. So social media and blogging definitely kept me motivated for sure.
That's totally awesome.
Yeah.
For everybody tuned in, take us back, rewind the story for a little bit, and help us picture that moment when you made your very last debt payment.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny story. So it was a couple weeks ago, and we get our end of year bonuses at work around the same time that I was about to make my final student loan payment. So I figured, okay, it was a little bit more than what I normally get to put towards my debt. So I was like, all right, my bonus will help cover it, and then I'll be able to put my normal amount on, kind of thing. So I waited. I have direct deposit at my work, so I waited until midnight, 12:01, to pay off this student loan, and for my direct deposit to go through. And 12:01 came around, I refreshed my bank, and what do you know? I had a regular paycheck and no bonus. Oh. So I'm about like on the verge of tears here, just waiting for this moment for 19 months and not being able to do it. So I ended up, against my will, pulling that money from my emergency fund, thinking, okay, I'll get my bonus, within the next couple days. Maybe it was just a mess up. Maybe we get the bonus as a separate check at work, kind of thing, that I'll be able to cash later. So I ended up taking, I think it was like an additional $3,000. The whole entire payment was about $4,000 for the very last payment. And so I think it was $3,000 that I was going to use for my bonus for the last payment. And I just took it from my emergency fund of $5,000, cried a little bit, got real nervous, hoped to God that there wouldn't be any sort of emergency within the next week or so. And that's what I did. I ended up paying it off, and it was incredible. It was the greatest thing. I took a screenshot, I posted it online, I posted it on my blog. I have it set as my phone background, so it has like the $0 student loans owed kind of thing. So yeah, it was great. It was a great moment.
Wow, that is totally amazing. So how does it feel? I mean, I know this is brand new, but talk to the audience about how life feels now that you're debt-free compared to when you were deep in debt.
So right now, I don't think it's hit me completely yet, but only because I get paid every 2 weeks, and I just had done this 2 weeks ago. So my next paycheck will be next week, and that's when I actually get to use. So I have 2 paychecks a month. The first month I use for all my living expenses, and the second month, that was the paycheck that went completely towards my student loan debt. And so next week is when I get that second paycheck. And I'll finally be able to apply that to something that isn't student loans. And my fiance and I are actually saving for a down payment for a house that we're going to build. And that, like I said, house is my dream. It's been my dream all my life. So it's going to be so nice to finally see that money building up into an account for a down payment versus just feeling like it's being tossed out the window sort of thing. So I think once I do that next week, it'll like really hit me for sure. But nice. I cried a couple times. I cried as soon as I hit that pay on the last payment. I cried tears of joy.
I mean, that's incredible. I still remember that moment when we realized we did it. We were out of debt. I mean, it's such a game changer, and it almost feels like, is it real?
Right,
I mean,
right.
We seriously don't have anybody else to pay because that's all you're used to for so long. You got tunnel vision, and everything that you're doing is all about getting out of debt, and then you do it, and it's like,
so true.
It's such an incredible feeling. I'm curious, you were grinding hard for 19 months. What was the biggest life lesson that you learned during this process?
So let's see. I think, drive and determination are definitely key here. Working for what you want. It's a huge thing when I finally have kids. It's definitely something that I'm going to instill in them. Because, a lot of people, there's some people that look for handouts. There's some people that just don't feel like they're ever going to succeed, or they're never going to be able to get out of debt, and they just kind of let it happen, or they get into more debt sort of thing. So I think knowing like what I know now, to be able to work for what I want and real hard. I mean, like I said, I never had a break. I was on the grind at all 24/7. It was literally 24/7. And, it'll be nice now to kind of relax a little bit. As much as I want to, stay for my down payment still, I can kind of kick it back a notch and, not have to worry too much. So, doing that working for what you want thing was a huge lesson I learned for sure.
Awesome. And, we're big proponents of self-educating yourself to debt freedom. That was one of the big key things for us when we would read books or articles or listen to people on TV about personal finance. We were able to gain fuel and motivation from that. So for you, do you have any personal finance book recommendations that our audience should know about?
Absolutely. Dave Ramsey was definitely my number one guy. The Complete Guide to Money was the first book that I read by him, but a lot of people recommend the Total Money Makeover, which I read afterward. And they're kind of the same book. One has a little bit more about the debt and one's a little bit more about personal finance overall. So I would say start with the Total Money Makeover because that's the one that he kind of uses for people that are trying to get out of debt. He usually recommends that one. So I would do that. And I also listen to his podcast every morning on my way to work and on my way home. Hearing other people's debt-free screams was super inspiring. It made me cry every single time. I still choke up every time I hear one. I still listen to the show. And that was incredible. The subreddit, personal finance subreddit, was a huge help. It was just a bunch of other real people coming on the sub to, figure out what they need to do for their finances. And I learned a lot of things along the way. I learned about my credit score, how to get that up, because now we're looking into buying a house. I learned about certain rewards credit cards and how to, use them wisely and pay them off in full every month in order to build your credit score kind of thing without actually going into debt. So you got to be careful with those.
Yeah.
But for sure, Dave Ramsey was my key. And I think he was the only book I really read were his.
Awesome. Now, Kelsey, if there's somebody tuned in to the show right now, they heard your story, they love it, they are in awe of what you were able to accomplish in these 19 months, but then they look at their own personal situation and they have a little doubt as to whether or not they have what it takes to become debt-free. What words of encouragement can you offer to that person right now?
So as cliche as it sounds, don't give up is a real good thing. Get mad about your debt. That was the pivotal moment for me, was when I got pissed, realizing that I will never be able to achieve any of the things that I want to achieve in life until this burden was off my shoulders. So get mad about it.
Absolutely. Start to hate your debt because It is not your friend.
Nope, it is not.
So, Kelsey, can you take a moment and tell our audience a little bit more about your website, thewiredlife.net? Yes,
thewiredlife.net. That is just my personal blog / business / everything kind of website. I do a lot of, like I said, I do freelance web graphic design and illustration. So if anybody ever wants to check that out, if they need some cool business cards or logo or some sort of illustration, feel free to check it out. You can contact me right on the website. So it's great.
Awesome. Kelsey, your story is incredible. You have destroyed your student loan debt and you did it in 19 months. That's a big deal, Kelsey. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on the His and Her Money Show and share the details of your awesome journey to debt freedom with our audience today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It was great. I hope I can help and inspire others for sure.
Wow. Wasn't that incredible, guys? Doesn't that show you that debt freedom is not some falsity, some far off distant land that nobody can get to? Because Kelsey got there. I mean, she paid off $40,000 in 19 months. I mean, she sacrificed.
Discipline.
She took on extra work. She determined it within herself that she was going to do whatever it takes to become debt-free. And guess what happened? She became debt-free.
That's right. So you guys can do the same exact thing. Make up in your mind that today is the day that you're finally going to get this done. You're finally going to stop procrastinating, and you're not going to keep looking back or going back to your old ways. Sit down, create a budget, take some of the tips and the steps that Kelsey shared here, and also check out our website, hisandhermoney.com. We have a slew of information over there to help you on this debt-free journey. You do not have to do this alone. We are here to help. And if you definitely want an accountability group, feel free to join our private Facebook group. If you go to smartmoneycouples.com, you will meet a whole bunch of other people over there that are rocking with knocking out this debt each and every day.
Well, guys, that's it for this week. Until next time.
Bye.
Peace.